Entering the Mayo experience.
That Mayo experience. That Mayo experience. That Mayo experience. Experience.
Welcome to another edition of the Dogger Pass podcast. This for UFC 255, Figueiredo versus Perez. I'm Paul Shaughnessy, graced by the presence of Cody Saftic back in studio after COVID lockdown.
Yeah, are we still in a red zone?
I don't even know anymore. I can't keep track of it.
They change it every other day.
I'm such a boring person. I don't really see anybody except for when you come in. I see Pat. I see Matt. Matt behind the scenes there doing all the sweet cuts.
Well, yeah.
Otherwise, like, pretty boring guy, man.
You mentioned when I came in, you're like, oh, I haven't really gone out or done much, which is fair because of the current pandemic. But your beard, you're totally rocking a war beard. So I'm pretty proud of you, my man.
I've got flops and socks.
I can tell you haven't really been up to a whole lot.
Flops and socks, jogging pants, and just like I even got a neck beard going right now. 0 fucks are being given.
No,
Cody.
we're currently looking like a couple homeless guys here, and we're broken a homeless man's card, and yet 2 title fights. Crazy.
2 title fights. Flyweight titles are on the line in the male flyweight title. We've got Deiveson Figueiredo taking on Alex Perez. Figueiredo minus 300 favor, Perez plus 250. Your boy Cody Garbrandt was supposed to be in this spot. I forget what happened in terms of injury for him. He had to pull out. I saw you write on Twitter that you're like, that's a real shame because we would have had one opportunity to fade that chin one last time. Perez steps in, watching a little bit of tape on this one. And Figueiredo, like, don't get me wrong, the power that this guy generates at 125 pounds, I think it's pretty much unmatched from anybody that we've seen so far. The guy can put dudes out, and that's what he's been doing his last few fights. He seems to be coming into his own. A couple things that I just kind of have a little bit of concern about, though, is rewatching that last fight with Benavidez, the second fight of their the rematch, essentially. Exactly. Early on, he takes a couple leg kicks against Joe B. Throws a couple leg kicks, and you can see like he's switching his stance a little bit. I think it gets to him, and that's what Alex Perez does. I mean, just as Juicy Formiga, but you go through like a lot of his fights. He's been working on that craft, the low calf kick. Minus 300. I think Figueiredo probably lines him up, finishes him by round 3 or before round 4 kind of starts. You throw all those leg kicks with a guy with this type of explosive power in his hands, so you're going to have something else coming down the pipe at you. And Figueiredo, I think he has like one of the highest knockdown rates in like UFC history at this point. 3 knockdowns against Joseph Benavidez in that last time out. Those leg kicks worry me when there's a price tag of minus 350 in this spot. I think Figueiredo wins. I think Figueiredo wins inside the distance, but I see that at like minus 225. We're still talking about the flyweight division where historically finishes don't come at the same rate.
I hear you.
Perez hasn't really gone 5 rounds. I'm just a little scared off of it. Maybe we'll see more as the weigh-ins happen as the week goes on, because Figueiredo's massive for the weight class, super, super jacked. He has struggled to make the 125-pound weight class in the past. Pick is Figueiredo. I think he wins inside the distance. I just think that the books kind of have this line right now.
No, see, I could think they got a line wrong, and for that reason, I want to lean towards a pass. I know nobody liked passing in the main event, and this is going to be a hell of a fun main event, and it's 5 rounds, and it's a title fight. It's that Figueiredo at minus 300 just kind of got me scared. Like, I think that Alex Perez is a live challenger in that if you're going to beat Deiveson Figueiredo, it's like, well, you need multiple weapons in your hand. And one of those things is that you need to be able to strike with this guy, at least in pockets, at least long enough to try to get him to the ground. At least Alex Perez can do that. As you mentioned, he's got good striking. His technical boxing, pretty on point. We've seen it steadily progress going back to the Jose Torres fight till present day, getting better. The kicks, getting better. Maybe you can slow down Deiveson. Deiveson doesn't throw a whole lot of heat. It's just that when he throws it, like, boy, oh boy. And that's why when you tape study it, the more you tape study it, the drawn conclusion is that 25 minutes is a long time to be trapped in a cage with Deiveson Figueiredo. Like, he's not exactly the quickest starter. And in the Jouban fight, the first time around, I'm actually on Jouban Kenobi.
Same here.
He's going to go out there. He's going to outwork this guy. He's got the wrestling. He's got the work rate. He's got the cardio. Deiveson fades. Maybe it's Deiveson fades because he's got bad cardio. Maybe it's Deiveson fades because he's gigantic. Now, he misses weight for that fight, right? He comes in at 127.5. So technically a pound and a half over. And in that fight, Jouban starts off good. Benavidez has got the hop on him. His hands are working. He's touching him up. He's outworking him. But it's like every time this guy lands, it's just catastrophic. And listen, it's a headbutt that sets up the straight punch that just drops him out. But all the same, it's just like ticking time bomb. So now they rebook it. I thought they rebooked it way too quick, considering he just got double knocked out from a headbutt and then a clean shot. Like little quick. And now I'm all on Davidson Figueiredo. But again, it's the same thing. He's a bit of a slow starter and he just waits for that punch to happen and he knocks him out in the first round. It turns out Benavidez can't take the punches anymore. The only guy to knock out, I think, Alex Perez is Joseph Benavidez. Was that a shot to the side of the head?
Rewatching that fight, yeah, there was a
back
lot of
of the
shots
head?
to the back of the head when he was on when he had knocked him down, and yeah, he got on top. And I don't know, man. Like, I know they're trying to go for like the back of the ear and stuff like that, but it kind of just looked like he was hammer fisting the back of his head. And then it was kind of a weird stoppage as well.
It was a weird stoppage on top of that. Maybe he
Yeah.
would have recovered. Maybe he wouldn't have. Maybe they were shots to the back of the head. All the same, if that's the way to knock out this guy, then I don't know that I can bet -3-1 that he's going to land some shady shot. He's going to land some clean shot. Perez is pretty good as far as his stand-up goes, but I mean, his wrestling chops up as well. So I get it's short notice, but Cody Garbrandt's been out of this fight for like 4 or 5 weeks, right? And Perez, someone who knows he's the number 2 or 3 contender in the division, getting ready
We're
for
in
this shot.
COVID times. People are dropping out of fights like crazy.
Yeah, perfect. So whenever I'm betting 3-1, 4-1, 5-1, one thing that you definitely do want to see, unless you think you're going to miss the line completely, is watch the weigh-ins, right? Because if Figueiredo comes in and he misses weight and he looks shit, and a lot of the time he does look like shit, he's just such a big guy. But I would rather bet this fight live because I'd rather see that first round and be like, is Figueiredo tracking him down? Is he landing? Is Perez... is he the quicker fighter? Is he outworking him? I'd rather hit my parlays and as the main event comes up, have my money, be able to mess around with it like that. I feel like it gets a couple overs, over 1.5, maybe over 2 rounds.
If Davison
But the count
Figueiredo
of
goes
fire.
out there and dusts him in the first round, well, you didn't bet anything. But yeah,
That's exactly.
kind of what happened to me with Chaos Williams versus Razak Al Hassan last week. Is I was like, I think the reach, there was 6 inches of reach advantage for Chaos Williams in that spot, and I was just like, I can't trust a price tag of nearly 3-1, at least for Al Hassan in that spot. I'm like, we'll see what happens live. Well, when Chaos Williams got the death touch, you don't get to see outside of one round.
And listen, if anybody's got the death touch, it's going to be Figueiredo here.
Yeah.
Like if someone's getting knocked out in the first round, my money would be it's going to be Alex Perez. But there's that feeling that if he can get out
Those
of those
leg
opening
kicks, I
couple
think,
rounds,
could be a problem for Figueiredo, too.
I got Figueiredo. I'm going to bet Figueiredo, but right off the hop, I got to say the -300 price tag is scaring me off of it. Like I don't like that. Like I don't think I would bank heavily on it, knowing that Alex Perez is a legitimate contender. In fact, he probably gives Figueiredo a tougher fight than Cody Garbrandt does, because Figueiredo would have literally just had to done the same thing as he did in the Benavidez fight. Sprawl and brawl this guy for 2 rounds. He's going to flop over. I'm going to hit him. He's going to flop over. With Alex Perez, it's like, maybe he flops over, maybe he doesn't. And if he doesn't, you could have a problem on your hands.
Garbrandt was already chinny, and he was coming down another 10 pounds. Like, I don't know how that was going to work out for him against a power puncher in this division.
Again, because 25 minutes is such a long time. So now it's like, you know what? I'm going to get the hop on him and put him away. It's like, oh, good luck with that. Like guys have tried. He's fought in very good guys. He's fought in Yusuf Formiga. They're just, again, the longer the fight progresses, he doesn't have great cardio, but he genuinely I think that's why he doesn't throw a ton. He's probably pacing himself, realizes I don't need to land a 2-piece combination or 3-piece combination. I just got to line him up with the one. And instead of, you look at his numbers, mind you, he finishes a lot of guys. He's not going to go out there and land more than 60, 70 significant strikes. Now, this is 5 rounds if it was to progress. But again, if Perez goes out there, he landed 84 significant strikes in the first round against Jose Torres.
He throws a lot of leg
He throws
kicks.
a ton. He's got a lot of volume. Volume would be the way to beat this guy. Don't firefight this guy. Outpoint him a little bit from the outside and get in on those hips, baby.
All right.
Again, yeah, that would be the play for there, I think.
Co-main event. Hard to get excited about this line. We've got Valentina Shevchenko taking on Jennifer Maia, -1,400, and you can see up to like -2,000 in some spots, depending on book to book here. For Shevchenko, Maia +900. I mean, Shevchenko wins. -1,400 is a lot of scratch. Even adding it to parlays, it really doesn't add all that much. It's one of those fights that, I've seen a lot of complaints about this fight being booked, but then you look at the women's flyweight
waistline.
division and you're just like, I mean, besides a trilogy fight with Amanda Nunes, what fights really get us excited right now for Valentina Shevchenko? There's really nothing. Like that whole division, she's pretty close to cleaning it out as it is right now. And yeah, there's nobody on her level that is fighting at 125 pounds that could give her really any sort of problem. She's good in the striking range. We've seen massive gains in her grappling and wrestling. And I mean, she's pretty much the perfect fighter. And she's
in the
arguably
GOAT talk,
arguably 1-1 with Amanda Nunes. A lot of people scored that second fight between them for Valentina Shevchenko, who came in at like 132 for the bantamweight title. Like,
the first fight, 3-rounder. She loses the first 2 and then puts it on Nunes in the third. So it's like, ooh, let me see a 5-rounder. And the 5-rounder, she arguably wins. Mm-hmm. And then, I
she's
agree.
amazing.
So her fighting Jennifer Maia, it's like, how do you get up for it? So now you got to chase the prop. You're chasing the dragon, baby. Is it going to be a submission? Is it going to be TKO? Does it go 2.5?
I don't know what it is right now. Maybe Matt can pull it up. But I saw earlier in the week it was like minus 160 for Shevchenko inside the distance.
Yeah. So like, why wouldn't you just hammer that?
I've got it at minus 175.
Minus 175 now.
Yeah, because that's you got to figure again. When I make the jokes, no, it's not even a joke. But being trapped 25 minutes with Figueiredo is a problem. Like that's the thing with Shevchenko. Being trapped in there for 25 minutes is a problem because she's such a finesse fighter that she can do it everywhere. Mm-hmm. Figueiredo's got power punching and a hell of a guillotine choke, but he's not just going to put a wrestling clinic on you just because he feels like it. He's not just going to head kick you just to prove a point. You know what I mean? Like she can do it all. It's such a mismatch in that proportion. When you look at Jennifer Maia, it's like, what does she do best? She's plotting, flat-footed, shoot-to-box style fighters, stay in your face, try to be aggressive. It's like, that's not how to fight her, man. Like, if anything...
She's going to chew you up.
Yeah, the judo. She's a judo black belt. She's a BJJ black belt. Her striking,
Arguably a Russian spy. Though she says she's not a Russian spy.
Not a Russian spy. Her sister's probably throwing fights just to make it realistic. You know what I mean? Like, we can't have 2 of them dominating the world. It's pretty crazy how skilled this girl is. And there's a huge discrepancy. So what do? Okay, well, either we can get the strawweight champ to move up to 125 for a super fight, or she moves up to 135 with Nunes to make a super fight. It has to be super fights. Mm-hmm. Who at 125 can give her a go? It's like, you could rebook the Joanna and Jacek fight, but like, why would you? Because Joanna would have to come back up to 125, which is bad news, and she'd get mauled up again. It'd be the same thing. What do you think her versus Jan Jacek is? -8, -9?
I want to see my girl Tatiana Suarez maybe potentially on the comeback. The wrestling that wrestling that would be at least a question against a fighter of the quality of Valentina Shevchenko. She's on a whole different level.
Your girl Tatiana is starting to fall into Gregor Gillespie category, right?
Well, she's hurt right now. She's got a neck injury.
Sure, but it's like when she does compete, the gross mismatches, and then at some point they're just going to be like, take on this top contender, and she probably beats the majority of them. But if they were to feed her a fight with Shevchenko,
no, not right out of the gate. Let's get back into business, warm it up, and then see what happens. But she seems to like 115, so I don't know why I'm making a fight that doesn't exist, and they're not even in the same weight class.
We can basically move on. But I will say, if they book that fight, live bet the shit out of it, because Suarez probably does go out there and take takedowns for the first round or 2, and then after that, she's fucked, right? Like, Shevchenko finishes her late. Maia might be able to go out there and bum rush her for a round or 2, but like at some point, she's going to fall over. Shevchenko inside the distance, if you're going to make a play on it at all, like even as far as us going parlays, like minus 1,400 doesn't even add anything.
No. So inside the distance, Shevchenko, like Maia has been durable over the years.
I say inside the distance, and because I rewatched the set of Shevchenko fights, and like, okay, sometimes is she playing with her food? Is she taking her time? Like the Liz Carmouche fight, it goes 5 rounds. Like, is she gonna maybe? But the difference there is that Liz Carmouche, super durable, good grappling stylist, good cardio, strong. She's able to like nullify it a little bit, slow it down. Caitlin Chookagian has the means to just escape. She's mobile, she's fast, stay to the outside, and it's like, no. Eventually, you're going to get tracked down. Joanna eats 100 significant strikes, just takes a beating, but it's Joanna. She's tough. She's able to take it. Jessica, who does that to Jessica? Like, if anything, this girl can take a punch. She's one of the better strikers in the division. When I look at Jennifer Maia, it's like I'm not nearly as excited as I was for Jessica, Caitlin Chookagian, and Joanna and Jacek, and I never thought any of those girls had a shot in hell. It's not going to change there. So we'll go Shevchenko inside the distance, if anything.
All right, so let's move on. We got Mike Perry taking on Tim, the Dirty Bird Means. Minus 150 Perry, plus 130 means I believe Mike Perry will be cornered by his very pregnant girlfriend, Latori Gonzalez.
1-for-1
for this fight. And, I mean, he's been in the headlines, fighting old men at bars. And I think you said it on Twitter before, ticking time bomb with Mike Perry, but here he is fighting in the UFC. I'm not going to complain about him fighting. I do enjoy watching him fight. But you start to question, like, where the guy's head's at. Now, that being said, he hits, like, when he connects clean, it's been a while. Like, there's been a lot of decisions on that record. He came into the UFC as, like, potent power puncher, knockout artist, but you go through that record, and a lot of his fights are going to decision these days. I don't know if that has to do with training. I don't know what that has to do with. Tim the Dirty Bird means longer fighter, more technical. I worry about his gas tank if we get outside of like the second round. Like, as we get deeper into the fights, is he going to be able to wear the damage? Mike Perry will take a hellacious beating before he gets knocked out stiff. If I had to bet something right now, the problem with Perry is just, no corner. Who knows what he's doing in training camp? Tim Means, at least, he's probably, you got to figure at this point in his career, he realizes this is probably like his last run. If he was going to make a run up into like the top 15, that type of thing. It'd be dog or pass for me, but no interest really in betting it right now, before at least talking to you.
Yeah, I'm honestly, and I hate to say it because it's like, what could go wrong here, Cody? But like, I'm all on Mike Perry here. I think he gets the job done for sure. See, Tim Means this is the sad part about fighting, but this is the real part about fighting. Tim Means is the better pretty much all around. He's a better striker. He's so much crisper. Mm-hmm. Just like is being able to switch stances. He's got a toe stab. He's lengthy. He's got good front kicks. Kicks generally all around. His hands are crisp. Finesse. He moves his head too, actually. His wrestling. Geez, he put on a lot of work. His wrestling is good. His grappling is good. He's got more fights. He's fought in probably the better guys. Well, I wouldn't say the better guys, but he's just got like a whole body of work, right? But it's just durability is key, man. And he does not have the durability. And this goes back to a lot of these fights, man. He looks like $1 million until he doesn't. The Alex Oliveira fight, quick start on him, then he falls apart. The Bilal Muhammad fight, he's styling on Bilal Muhammad early, but then he starts to tire a little bit. Then he starts to wear some of the damage. Bilal Muhammad, no punching power. Keep that in mind. You can get hit that many times by him. Mike Perry, I know what you're saying, decisions like, tell Vicente Luque that Mike Perry doesn't have no punching power anymore. Like, he's still got it, man. But as far as a lot of these fights goes, he lets them slip away late. The Sergio Moraes fight, which I thought he won. The Nico Price fight, knocked down in the first round. But then here's the key: is the Daniel Rodriguez fight. Because at this point, you can make he's fighting good guys. Nico Price got death touch. Sergio Moraes has got the BJJ, and the fight was in Brazil, and he got robbed. You're making those excuses. The Daniel Rodriguez fight, there's no excuse to be made. He's a minus 340 favorite. He has the skill all over. In the first round, he looks great. The last second of the first round, he takes one good shot from Rodriguez, and he's knocked out. Coming into the second round, he's just not there anymore. His legs aren't there anymore. The Staropoli fight, he's got the advantages absolutely all over. He comes in, and it's just like, he looks good in spots, but if he's not putting you away, it's not there. Mike Perry, if anything, he's just so durable that he keeps coming forward.
He'll eat all of those shots. He'll eat all of those crisp elbows and everything like that.
Yeah, and this is what I've noticed with Tim Means. He's a confidence-based fighter. So he goes out there, he lands a couple of those dirty elbows, he lands some of those knees. His opponents feel it. He feels good. He feels himself, and all of a sudden he's styling on you. The second you take his best shots and you return fire on him, then you see him kind of break away a little bit. He's 36 years old. So at this stage of anybody's career, how many fights has this guy got? He's got 43 professional fights. That's on his professional record. He's been around the game a long time. He's 36 years old. He's been in there with some bangers. He'll give you one round. And in his mind, I can knock out anybody. I can finish anybody. I got to put it on them. But just like that Matt Brown fight, once upon a time, he puts it on them until they take his best shot and they put it back. And then he crumples up. Perry, there's one thing about Perry is like the more you pressure him and the more you give him, the more he's going to resonate with that and give it back, right? If you want to fight a Max Griffin fight and just disengage, stay to the outside, pop, 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 that's the way to fight him. Matador him. He's a bull. Matador him. If you want to stand in there and throw some shots, it's not going to be good. No. And Tim Means has got an entire body of work. You can watch every 44 fight he's had. He goes at it. He's there to bull as well. So unless he gets that first round knockout, and I don't see it happening, unless he gets that submission, I don't see it happening. I got Mike Perry. Then Mike Perry goes in the Mickey Gall fight. Should he have not gone the knockout there? Yeah. But he does something even more impressive than just going out and knocking out Mickey Gall. He fucking styled on him with his ground game, which for whatever reason, apparently he doesn't train anywhere. He's not going rounds. He was like hanging out with Jacare and they were just working on some ground game stuff together. And it's like, he picked it up. You know, if this goes to the ground, he's going to TKO him on the ground. He's going to pound him out. Because again, I just don't think that Dirty Bird is just going to take that damage for a sustained period of time. This probably goes over 1.5, but I don't even see it getting to the third round. And when I see minus 150 Mike Perry, I love it. And do I love Mike Perry? No. But let me tell you the last thing here, right? Mike Perry's 29 years old. Is he smoking? Yeah. Is he drinking? Yeah. Is he making all types of bad decisions? Of course. I was really into Muay Thai a few years back, right? Studied it. And like the prime guys in Muay Thai, the best guys, these guys are legends. They're smoking, they're drinking, they're gambling, they're living a rough life in Thailand. Thing is, apparently, that shit don't catch up to you till you're a little bit older. Once Mike Perry's 32, 35, maybe he's good at 32, 35, 40, he'll be shot to bits. But right now, it's like he can still get off of his couch, go outside, and run a mile in 6 minutes, or 5:50, whatever he needs to do. He's still an athlete. It hasn't really caught up to him. And as much as him just going out there, probably ill-prepared, with no corner, how's that going to work for him? Not great. But it's going to be enough. And I think that Mike Perry gets the win over Tim Means.
Can you explain to me why Cynthia Calvillo is a minus 265 favorite against Caitlin Chookagian?
Just because of the body shot in Chookagian's last fight. I think that they look at it and they say, okay, red flag number one is going into the fight. She's like, I got baby fever. I don't know how many more fights I got right now. It's just like, oh no. Take all the money off Caitlin Chookagian right now. Put it on Jessica Andrade. It's not going to go well. And, well, the first round's competitive. It's close. I think she definitely had some spots in it. But yeah, one body shot and she just yelps out in pain and that's it. I think that's baked into here where you just think, oh, she just got TKO'd not that long ago. She's got baby fever. She's chasing one last paycheck. Who knows why? But yeah,
Jessica Andrade is a shit brick house, though. Or brick shit house, whatever you want to call
it. At any weight class. I don't care what weight class she competes, 15, 25, 35. It's just like, no mas. Yeah, no, I agree. I think that she's a lot better of a fighter than Cynthia Calvillo is, and yet she was not that kind of
Calvillo does a lot of her work on the ground. Caitlin Chookagian is a pretty excellent grappler. On the feet, I think Chookagian has a couple inches reach advantage in this spot. She's taller. I mean, I just think this should be a lot closer to a pick'em, in my opinion, and I think you're probably right. I think this line is reflective of recency bias. I mean, when you look at their ages, Cynthia Calvillo she kind of gets this like reputation of being like some sort of prospect. She's 33 years old.
No, I agree.
This point as well.
Yeah.
If this was 5 rounds, I would like it even more for Chookagian, but it's dog or pass, in my opinion. I haven't made a bet on it yet. What about you?
Yeah. It's basically I would lean more towards a pass, just because my dog scenario here was take Caitlin Chookagian, who again made the comments and then didn't look good, and then Cynthia Calvillo. I mean, at strawweight, I think the weight cut was getting to her. Like she just looked really awful at the weigh-ins. Ends up missing weight. I think the Marina Rodriguez fight came in at like 120. The only fight she's had at flyweight was against Jessica Ai, and Jessica Ai had weight cutting troubles. But I mean, she styled up on her like really good over 5 rounds. Looked good, looked strong, looked like she was making improvements. In a 3-round fight, it's like you would think that she'd be able to put a little bit more of a pace on Caitlin Chookagian, use that wrestling, keep the fight standing, or maybe get a few offensive takedowns just to persuade the judges and get the rounds. But yeah, listen, I mean, I'm willing to bet women's MMA, don't get me wrong, but there's a couple spots where there's a bad line, like minus 265 on what is probably a lot closer fight than this is indicating. Mm-hmm. And then, what do you do? Do you chase it? Do you put it at the bottom of a parlay? Like, it's not a lock piece parlay by no means.
Yeah, I just don't feel comfortable putting that on, like, significant kind of bet.
I will admit something. I was heavy on... This is a personal embarrassment, but I was heavy on Andrade Caitlin Chookagian over 1.5 rounds and going the distance. Because I honestly thought Caitlin Chookagian stayed at the outside, Andrade coming up to 125. The size discrepancy was pretty big. And it was just like that one shot to the body folded her up. Didn't like it. And, she made the comments. As soon as she made the comments, didn't like it. Fight happens. Started off okay. Wasn't really engaging all that much. Probably lost the first round in hindsight anyhow. Mm-hmm. And then takes the one shot to the body. Like, could Calvillo do the same thing? Does she want to? Like, I don't know. Am I willing to bet on that? Probably not. So I'm going to hit a pass on that one.
We got Paul Bear Jew Craig taking on Mauricio Shogun Hua in the rematch that nobody asked for. But honestly, rewatching that fight,
Super fun.
it was really fun. Paul Craig is a minus 170 favorite. Mauricio Shogun Hua plus 150. These are the type of fights that, like, you should be booking for a guy like Shogun at this point of his career. We don't need murderous power punchers absolutely, like, stunning this legend. And Paul Craig comes out, shows a bunch of new tricks in their first fight there. He throws some, like, a spinning back kick. He has him up against the cage. He is throwing everything but the kitchen sink at him, trying to get Shogun out of there. He doesn't really have much. He doesn't have enough power to shut out the lights of old legend like Shogun, and Shogun fights his way back into that fight, ends up being scored a draw, or split draw. Is 29-28 on one side, 28-9-28 on the other side, and then a draw on the third. I think the draw was probably the most fair. Like, that first round, you thought
Do you
that
think it was a
Shogun
10-8?
was. I thought it was fair at least.
Kicked
I
his
thought
ass,
like
yeah.
he had him up against the ropes. He was eating all of the
Almost
shots.
knocked him out.
Almost knocked him out. Shogun basically just curdled up. But just watching that fight over again, this is sickening. But this is a dogger pass situation in my opinion. I wanted to run it by you before I make such a decision as to bet on Mauricio Shogun Hua, who is. He's 38 years old now? Or
But he's just so shot to bits. That
He
it's
is,
like,
but we've seen this fight. It was only a year ago, and it was a pick'em. Like, you end up on, I feel like you take the plus money side or you don't bet this thing at all.
I'll tell you what my problem is with this.
Like,
one.
is Paul Craig's what, like 32, 33?
He's 32, yeah.
How many more improvements are we going to see from that? Do you think there's going to be a substantial extra amount of power to his strikes? We had seen new wrinkles to his game in that specific fight.
That was that was the best his striking's ever looked, that fight.
by far.
Till
But
he gassed out. But
until he
did
gassed
he
out.
gas out because he was going for the kill, or did he gas out because he is a one-round fighter?
Well,
which is entirely possible.
Isn't he going to, like, the thing I think with Paul Craig is I couldn't bet him at minus 170 here because he got Shogun to the ground. He got his opportunity to try to lock up like a triangle submission from bottom. And Shogun had no issues whatsoever getting out of it, getting back over to side control and escaping every single submission attempt. I can't lay minus 170 on Paul Craig if his best tricks in his tool shed, or his best tools in his shed, are ineffective. They're not effective against Mauricio Shogun Hua. Tell me I'm wrong.
No, you're not wrong. And I think that Shogun Hua plus 150, you're chasing a dog. There's a lot of, kind of looks like a chalky card. You got to get some of those dog spots. That last fight, yeah, man, outside of a bad first round, Shogun wears him down. Shogun starts taking him down. Shogun starts dominating him down that stretch. He beats him. If you look at, again, MMA decisions is not everything, but like a lot of people scored the fight outright, 29-28 for Shogun. Didn't have it as a 10-8 first round. But it was a 10-8 first round. He almost got knocked over. And here's the thing. I was big on Shogun in that spot going into it. Shogun Hua is not going to get submitted by Paul Craig. Not going to happen. Ain't going to happen. Paul Craig's only weapon is that submission game. Like, he'll try to throw up a triangle on you. Basically, the majority of his victories in the UFC are by triangle choke. He's generally the underdog. You like betting him as the underdog because maybe he's going to throw something up. But as far as his outside of that, he's got one knockout win in his entire career. 32 years old, some 16 pro MMA fights, one victory by way of knockout. Has not shown any power, has not shown any modicum of striking, and yet he goes out there against Shogun Hua, who is a striking legend.
He's a statue at this point, though.
He's a statue. Yeah. Oh, yeah. And see, that's the problem, is that he is so just, his knees, okay, if you remember him from Pride, his knees were gone, and he was 26 years old. He comes to the UFC, he got upset in his debut against Forrest Griffin. He had knee problems. Beyond that, he loses to the title to John Jones. It's a passing of the torch. And then it's like 2011. The fact that the man's hung around this long is crazy. The fact that he's 38 years old is even crazier. But he's like, his mobility's gone. His leg kick game would work very well against Paul Craig because Paul Craig's tall. He is very kind of like heavy on his feet. It's like, why not chop away at him? But he's not willing to go out there and throw 20, 30 leg kicks anymore. Like, that's gone. As far as those like winging hooks that he does, it's like, yeah, could he knock out Paul Craig? But he's got a decent chin on him. Like, It's just like he's so slow now that Paul Craig, a man with one knockout and no striking, goes out there and absolutely styles on him in the first round and then fatigues, right? I would say Paul Craig from 31 to 32 with some money in his pocket, beating Ante Gulov's next time out, get a little bit of a bonus as well. You're making some improvements. Shogun, multimillionaire, 38 years old, knees fucking blown to bits, not making improvements, regressing if anything. So I don't know. And then he actually follows it up with the Antonio Nogueira fight, which is just like abysmal bullshit as well. Like thankfully they're both in the exact same position, where they're both nearing their 40s. Nogueira is 40, Shogun 38. But they're old Pride legends. They should be fighting each other. Like I get what you're saying, dog or pass. And in some regard, listen, this could be an under 1.5 round fight when Hua could catch him or Hua could get him tired and do the same thing, put it on him. But like honestly, I can't. When I first got into
clicking on Shogun.
When I first got into betting, you would always
ill.
chase these old big name guys. You'd always chase these guys one time around. He's got such back class. He used to be so good. It's like, no, man, they're on their way out. This could reasonably be his last fight in the UFC, right? You don't know.
I mean, if he gets finished by Paul Craig, it'll probably be his last fight in the UFC. Dana will get up to the press conference and he'll be like, "I'm never letting Shogun fight again."
Scott Coker would be like...
What Dana does. Scott will be like, "Come on. The water is warm, my friend."
Yeah,
We'll bring Ken Shamrock out of retirement for you, bud.
And you mentioned we can move on, right? This is Dana doing him the biggest favor he could, because this is the rematch that nobody asked for, as you said yourself, right? But you know what was the trilogy that nobody asked for? Him versus Nogueira. We didn't want to see it.
That was a fun old man fight.
The first fight was legendary, one of the greatest fights you've ever seen. The second fight is just like such a shade of it. And then this third one's like, at least they're matched up with each other. But beyond that, it's like, okay, who can Shogun fight now? It's like,
he's competitive.
remember
with Paul
that
Craig.
time he got that draw with Paul Craig? It was competitive.
Yeah.
It was competitive. Run it back. Like they're trying to give him meaningful fights, but it's getting to be a bit of a stretch.
All right, fair enough. We got so you're picking Paul Craig. Do you really like Paul Craig?
First UFC I ever attended live. Shogun Hua main event, Lyoto Machida knocks him out, gets the light heavyweight title. I'm one of Shogun's biggest fans. We pour out into the street, support the guy, love the guy, but like I can't let that get in the way of anything else. And would I bet Phil Baroni? Would I bet Pete Spratt? Would I bet Charles Crazy Horse Bennett? Would I bet
would.
Mark Hunt? Put him in bare knuckle boxing. I'll bet him again, baby. Come on. But yeah, at some point you got to realize that your heroes are. And he's only 38 years old, man. Like,
is he 38? Is that the
I
number?
don't know. Is that?
I know Jouban is 38. I was looking at
it says Shogun's 38, and if he was Russian,
so
I would
right
call
on that.
bullshit. But he's Brazilian, so I'll believe it.
He's been around forever. He's a legend at the end of the day. All right, we got Brandon Moreno taking on Brandon Royval. Moreno minus 190, Royval plus 165. Royval's kind of been running through the UFC. Super flashy grappling. His striking is really aggressive. Lots of spinning attacks. He's very unorthodox.
Everything he does is real
It's
aggressive.
super fun to watch. I know that he's quit his job and now he's a full-time fighter. I expect big improvements from him. But, it wasn't too long ago that we were talking about Brandon Moreno as, this young Mexican fighter who, on the Ultimate Fighter, he took
Pantoja.
Pantoja.
He was ranked 16th seed because they preceded them based on who they were, and Pantoja was the number 1 seed. Yeah, he gave him hell. Got submitted, but gave him hell.
Took him deep, and you kind of saw this guy's got some potential.
With 22.
In 2016 was the last time that Brandon Moreno got submitted by Pantoja.
No shame there, kid.
No. I kind of I'm leaning towards Moreno here, and maybe prop bet Matt can pull it up for me. But I think this line is a little bit affected by recency bias here in terms of Royval's been getting all of these finishes as a flyweight fight. Flyweight fights typically go to decision, and Royval's been, Kai Kara France caught him up in that. But watching Moreno versus Formiga gets him in a couple really bad spots. He just edges out that fight, if he even does. Some people probably with Formiga getting top control at the end of it, having him in an arm and triangle choke. He had him in guillotine at some point as well. Moreno is obviously really put in a lot of work to improving his submission defense. So I think it was like minus 130 for the over over 2.5 rounds there, Matt. What is it right now? Royval Moreno over 2.5 rounds.
Taking a peek now. Minus 175 is what I'm seeing.
Over 2.5.
So they figure it's going the distance.
Motherfuckers have figured this out.
Yeah, of course.
I'll probably have to dance around a bunch of different sites and figure this one out and hopefully get some in on it. I think that was even better than the option. I expect this fight to be fireworks. I expect it to be really, really high paced, super, super fun. Sneaky one if you have a book that offers like fight of the night props and stuff, because this is like one that's kind of flying underneath the radar, and I could just see a super, super high pace. Everything that Royval does is just super, super high pace, flashy, crazy type of shit. So if you could get like over 9, 10 to 1 on this being like the fight of the night prop, I think I'll be looking to see if I can get something like that. I think Moreno stays out of, the major submissions there and kind of just wears on him, shows that he's got a little bit more experience, and Moreno gets the job done. But I think the over 2.5 rounds is where I'm going to be laying some money here.
Yeah, I agree with you. I got Brandon Moreno. I would see probably the over as well. As Brandon Moreno is just, he scrambles. I mean, he loves this transitional work. He's got good cardio. He pushes a pace on guys. And Royval, he'll go out there and do the same thing. He'll be aggressive. He'll look for those openings, but he's got to catch you with those openings. I don't know that he's just going to string it together for a hard 15 the way Moreno does. And as far as like, well, maybe he catches Moreno, it's like, I don't know about all that, man. At 26 years old, Brandon Moreno has already just been through the fire, man. Because like you're mentioning, not only does he have a run on The Ultimate Fighter where he's the number 16 seeded guy, he goes on to impress. It's like since then, he got released from the UFC, by the way. But since then, it's like he just puts it together. He gets a little bit better. His list of guys that he's fought, right? He beat the scramble master of the world, Dustin Ortiz. Basically took his job. Dustin Ortiz is currently, for whatever reason, not signed to the UFC. But Sergio Pettis, the younger brother of Anthony, once a highly touted prospect, murdering in Bellator. Good fight. Alexander Pantoja, the Ultimate Fighter winner, the BJJ black belt, fought some of the best guys.
Man, they let a lot of really, really talented flyweights just walk out.
Yeah, his one fight on the regional scene against Mikel Perez. You mean the Cuban wrestling standout, the former Olympian? You mean that Mikel Perez? Okay. Well, what about since then? Askar Askarov? You mean the undefeated Sambo champion? And talk about scrambles. Like, fuck, man, this guy's got a wicked good ground game, good striking. He's a legitimate guy. Moreno hangs with him. Kai Frost, everybody loves him. No. Moreno makes him look very human. And that, in fact, is actually the biggest win of Brandon Royval's career is Kai Frost. So beyond that, Yusir Formiga. If someone's going to take your back and choke you out, it's going to be Yusir Formiga, not Brandon Royval. So, like, as far as spamming submissions, throwing up arm bars, trying to take the back, throwing up some flying knees, throwing that spinning stuff, it's like, I don't know. Moreno's got the better technical boxing. I favor him in the scrambling. I don't see him getting submitted. And as far as cardio, it's like, do I think that this kid Royval's got the advantage? Like, I don't know. See, Royval at one time was training in Colorado. I think he was at Elevation. He's back at Entram in Mexico, but it's in Mexico City, isn't it? So it's like, yeah, I don't know. He's probably still training at altitude. His cardio has never really been an issue, is that he pushes a bit of a pace. I think Brandon Moreno wins. He's the more experienced guy, even though he's younger. I think he's got the better striking. I think he's got the better scrambling, and I think eventually it'll prevail for him. Minus 190. You got that minus 175 as the over 2.5.
Yeah, or even like fight goes to decision, yes. If you want to take on those extra 2.5 minutes, like both of these guys I think are going to have cardio to go 15.
Yeah,
I'm not too
Moreno by
about
decision plus 140. I like that on a personal level. That's what I would have a look at.
Moreno
because,
by
again,
decision.
could he get the finish? Yeah, I guess he could. But, I mean, we all like Brandon Royval, right? We've all seen the improvements he's been making.
Absolutely.
And if he is going to lose a fight, it's going to be a humbling loss where he just gets out-grappled a little bit and it shows where he needs to grow.
Yeah, no disrespect to him.
He'll
I
get
just
better.
think, he's making those steps. Moreno's already made those steps in his game and worked out all of the kinks in his game.
Yep.
I gave a refresh, and it's minus 130 now for over 2.5.
Wow, looks like people are hammering it the other way.
Well,
They know something's up.
nah.
I
think I saw it around like that price. And by the way, yeah, shop around for different lines.
Yeah, these
and
lines
stuff
change
like
all
that.
the time.
But yeah, I think the over is my favorite play from that fight. I think Royval, yeah, as I was saying, he's been getting lots of finishes, but now he's taking on a guy who can hang in every facet of the game with him.
Yeah,
in
and
my
he's hung
opinion.
with really good guys.
And Moreno is super durable. That guy can take a punch. So I'm not too concerned about that. It would be some sort of tricky submission that would be of concern to me. But yeah, hanging out with Juicy Formiga at the end of the fight, he has all of the right defenses to all of these things. Now, is it perfect? No, but my favorite play is the over 2.5 rounds. We got Joaquin Buckley taking on Jordan Wright. Joaquin Buckley, the man with the knockout of the year last time out. He's a minus 250 favorite. People have seen that clip now, Cody. Jordan Wright can be had for plus 210. What's your take here?
What's the greatest knockout you've ever seen? And Paul, you've seen 10,000 fights, man. What is the greatest knockout you've ever seen?
I mean, it may be that.
Yeah, I'm honestly inclined to believe the same thing. And I racked my brain, and to this point, the greatest knockout I had ever seen.
It's just like unlike anything we've ever seen before.
Yeah, the greatest knockout I had ever seen prior to that was Edson Barbosa, Terry Edom. He froze him in mid. Just absolutely froze him. Spinning wheel kick right to the face. Absolutely nasty. Terry Edom was never the same. In fact, I think he got arrested for like going on a rant, like he was running down the streets of England naked, spitting on cars. Changed man is what I'm saying. When I seen that Buckley knockout, it was just like, oh my God. I saw somebody tweet out he was getting all the bonuses, and I thought it was legit because I thought, yeah, well, why would you give him all three of them, give him $150,000 at least in bonus money? This man deserved it. In fact, give him 95% of the bonus money and cut 5 points to his poor opponent, Kinsana guy. Whoa, might be a change man. It's a nasty knockout. Perfect. The UFC is doing him one better. They only gave him the 50 G's, but they're saying, do it again. And they're giving him a guy that it's very possible. Listen, you'll never land that again. But I'm saying this is a good highlight reel making fight. Like someone's getting iced out here. And I got to assume Buckley ain't going to be that guy. Well, we took away from the Holland fight because, again, coming into the Holland fight, you can watch his regional show career. It looks like he's good, but he's still green. He's still developing.
Well, we worried about the reach disparity there.
Huge reach disparity. He takes the fight on like a week's notice. And he goes out there with just the absolute right game plan. Because you know what every other guy that's fought in Kevin Holland kind of since or before on short notice doesn't do? Go at him. They're just like, I'm going to try to catch him with something. It's like, man, you got to bring the fight to him. This kid brings the fight to him. He has a very good first round. Second round, it is what it is. He probably fatigued, short notice, throws caution to the wind. Against Kinsana guy, it's like, listen, he's not more technical than Kinsana guy. Kinsana guy's green, but this kid's only 26 years old. But it's body of work. It's not age, it's body of work. When you look at him and who he's fought on the regional scene, it's like, man, he's fought a bunch of good guys. He's got the 1-1 fight with Jackie Ghosh, if you know him, Israeli standout. Justin Patterson, Vinicius Jesus, Logan Storley, went to decision with Storley, beat Chris Harris. It's like those aren't just absolute nobodies. They're decent regional scene guys. He had built that
Wright,
record
on the
out.
other hand. He's
Jordan
fought guys
Wright.
that are like 0-21.
That's been entirely his entire career. And then he comes on the contender series.
In his last fight out there.
But you remember his contender
that was
series
a weird stoppage where he went in there, he grabbed a tie clinch, and he just was like landing knees, ends up opening a cut. But, he didn't have Ike Villanueva wobbled. It was more that the cut was there and the doctor stops it. And it was obviously a good stoppage in that sense. But you didn't walk away from it being like, what happens if you fight somebody, a real fighter at the UFC level? You didn't really walk away being like, I feel good about Jordan Wright's chances at this level moving forward. He's 11-0 on his record, but he's got a loss to, Anthony Fluffy Hernandez on there?
Okay, so when he came to contender series, right, he's undefeated, and he's got a lot of quick finishes over absolute putzes. It's just like, well, now it's sink or swim. You're fighting a guy out of Alpha Male who's fought in LFA and seems reasonably better than you are. Let's see what you're made out of. And he gets knocked down in 40 seconds. Mm-hmm. There's nothing to it. Knocked down 40 seconds. Anthony
and then they reverse
Hernandez
it because of weed, man.
Smoked the weed and got a no contest. Ridiculous. Because the kid should not be undefeated. He has a big fat loss, like that big fat L that got Hernandez tossed out. It's just like, okay. So the Gabriel Checo fight, that's a legitimate win. Checo's a high level BJJ black belt, but he's got absolutely no cardio, no conditioning, lackluster wrestling. So once he gets tired in the first round, it's easy pickings. And sure enough, Jordan Wright is like a karate specialist. They call him the Beverly Hills Ninja. Yeah, Beverly Hills Ninja. Chris Farley, shout out. He comes from like a karate base. He's light on his feet for a bigger guy. He likes to stay at range, pop into the pocket, and try to tag his opponent. He can switch stances. He can fight out of both, but there's not a whole lot there to him. I think if you just stand your ground and counterfire on him, he's going to flop over. Checo, no counterfiring ability. He's a grappler. The fight with Hernandez, it's a no contest, but he was non-competitive. And the Ike Villanueva fight, I actually picked him over Ike Villanueva just because Ike's really slow and plodding. And at the very least, this guy, because of his karate background, he's got decent footwork again, and he's mobile for a bigger
Who's Ike
bigger
taking
guy.
on next? Sorry, I was looking at this the other day.
Ike is taking on Vinicius Moreira.
We gotta know. We gotta know who the worst fighter in the UFC is, and we're gonna find out that night.
Yeah, pretty crazy. Well, yeah, that's probably going to be a good barometer test for you. But again, coming back to Jordan Wright, it's just like I think that he can go out there, he can land a couple flashy strikes, but as soon as this becomes an actual fist fight, as soon as it starts to get into some waters, he's going to get drowned in those waters. And it just so happens that they've given him Joaquin Buckley, who, as we all know, at the very least, is not going down without 7.5 minutes of swinging bombs.
Mm-hmm.
Those bombs are going to land at some point, and I see Jordan Wright flopping over. So you go with Joaquin Buckley minus 250. I think you chase the knockout prop as well. But I don't love chasing props. If a prop bet kills your parlay, you feel like such an idiot. So I'd rather just have Joaquin Buckley straight up at 250 on cards. Jordan Wright's in for a rough one. If this goes the way I believe it's probably going to go.
We got Antonina Shevchenko taking on Ariane Lipski. Antonina is a minus 160 favorite. Lipski a plus 140. Hot takes here.
No, listen, it would probably be a dog or pass situation. If you're going to take any one of them, you take the dog. It's Lipski 140. How much of Shevchenko being the favorite, especially to the tune of minus 160, is baked into the fact that her sister's on the card in a title fight? Well, she must be training at a high level. She's with her sister. Like, she's the lesser talented 35-year-old sister. Mm-hmm. And we've seen what she's got. As far as her striking goes, listen, she's a good Muay Thai practitioner. She lacks power. She has no amount of power. If you look at her lion fight career, if you look at her kickboxing career, her Muay Thai career, just it's not really one for finishes. It's a lot of decision victories. You see her in the Contender Series, at least she's throwing those knees to the body. At least she's throwing some output. As far as her UFC career goes, she has to rely on output because there's just nothing then that's going to sting her opponent. Her ground game, we all know it's non-existent. It plays out in her favor here in that Lipski is just not a grappler herself. She's got one takedown over Joanne Calderwood, another Muay Thai fighter. And outside of that, she's not looking to take you down. If she doesn't take down Shevchenko, and this is purely a striking battle, I would lean Shevchenko just based on volume. Lipski does not throw enough, man. You see her, and it is frustrating. Because when she was in KSW, she was young, and she was murdering people. And then that transition from KSW over to the UFC has been okay for some, and has not been okay for others. And in her case, it's like, she just never really materialized to that fighter we thought she was going to be. Molly McCann doubles her up in significant strikes, out-hustles her, takes her down. It's like, boy, oh boy. And then they give her Luan Carolina, who's got 5 pro fights and a very, very, very green. And she picks up the weirdest, wonkiest knee bar. So we getting in on this dog play, Lipski? It's like, I don't know. And it's like, okay, let's take Shevchenko minus 160. It's like, which one? Because this one, no. And the other one you never get at minus 160 unless you put an extra 0 at the end of the previous 0.
Doesn't sound like there's very much interest in this fight between the two of us.
Well, I would say it goes the distance, which it's going to go the distance, but the price on that's not going to be good
because minus 400.
Right, because everybody in their right mind would assume this fight is going the distance. Lipski Shevchenko fight goes the distance minus 265. Not the worst price tag in the world, but you're chasing major chalk
piece,
at that.
But then you worry that a weird Luana Carolina knee bar or something like that
I'm
happens.
not worried about all that much. This is going the distance. Unless it's a cut stoppage, right? Or something stupid like that. Did you watch KSW the other day? Mary Zaromski's opponent. He just breaks his leg. Checked kick. That's the kind of shit that happens.
Goes to...
Could happen.
GTD. I'm just making notes for myself. Minus 265. All right, we got Daniel Rodriguez taking on Nicholas Dalby. Rodriguez minus 310 favorite. Dalby plus 255. Daniel Rodriguez. Last fight was the Tim Means fight for him?
No. Daniel Rodriguez.
Am I forgetting one of them?
Yeah.
Off the top of my head right now?
I just got to pick up his name. He was UFC debutant. His last fight was... Yeah, so he beats Tim Means, and then he beat that Gabe Green, and then he beat Dwight Grant, iced him out.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, he's on a roll, man. I actually like him.
It's hard picking Nicholas Dalby at this point, I think.
It's a big price tag.
I mean,
that's the one thing to
what's
consider.
Dalby really gonna is he gonna go to wrestling here? Like, I think this is a step down for Rodriguez in terms of where Dalby is at this point in his career. Don't love it, but Daniel Rodriguez is the pick here. I just think he's getting better. His striking is definitely crisper, more impactful. And I mean, are we concerned about Rodriguez gassing in this fight? Dalby's always had pretty good gas reserves.
Yeah,
in all of his fights. Like, that would be the major concern, I suppose. But I just think that Rodriguez throws at like a super, super high clip. The volume is always there. I just struggled to see Nicholas Dalby outworking him.
Yeah, well, I think you pretty much summarized it. Daniel Rodriguez, not like my boy Ronnie Barcelos, but in many ways, like my boy Ronnie Barcelos. There's nothing that he does wrong. You know, his striking's really good. He's got good, crisp technical boxing. His combinations are good. His grappling's good. He's a 10th planet guy. But you see, he's very reluctant to go to his grappling for the most part. But it's there. It exists. We know it's something he's got in his back pocket. Have we seen him gas out? Yeah, we've seen him gas out. But we've seen him gas out because he throws a lot of punches. He lands a lot of punches. The power is maybe lacking a little bit, which is why he's not knocking these guys out with these good punches that he's landing. But all the same, like, he knocks out Dwight Grant. It's like, okay, the striking's pretty par. The grappling's pretty par. When he does get tired, he's one of these guys that catches a second win or makes an adjustment. High ring IQ. I like him. What's the knock on him? Is that he's 33. He's 33, and to this point, he's fought in relative non-contenders in the UFC. It's like, where's his ceiling at? I don't know, but I do like him. Against Nicholas Dalby, remember that thing we were saying earlier about Mike Perry and how you can get away with a little smoke and a little drink because he's 29 at this stage? Nicholas Dalby's 36, right? He's a former alcoholic. He wasted the best years of his career on the regional scene or not fighting at all. He pursued photography. He came back to the MMA. If there's anything, though, the guy's a warrior. He's a fighter. He's durable. To get knocked out against Jesse Ronson, who, by the way, just got flagged by USADA yesterday, to get knocked out by Jesse Ronson, a natural 55er, who was 1-3 previously at welterweight, taking the fight on short notice and was like a 2-1, 3-1 underdog. It's like, it's a bad look, man. Again, 36 years old. I don't know that his skill set's improving. He's one to take damage. He's there to get hit. His fight with Ross Houston and Cage Warriors, I mean, it shows you everything you need to see. I don't know that he's going to hang out with these, like, young whippersnappers. Now, fortunate for him, Daniel Rodriguez is 33. But it's like, what you see out of him is just, like, I would say much more technical boxing. The one thing is, like, Ronson hit him and put him down, right? Early stoppage, not early stoppage. No. He hits him, he puts him down. Could have Dalby didn't get dropped in that first round? Would he have worked his way back in? Would he have tired him out? Would he have used that grappling? Maybe. Coulda, shoulda, woulda. Never really known. Daniel Rodriguez lacks a little bit of that stinging power. So if he doesn't knock out Dalby, then like you're saying, yeah, Dalby's got good cardio and he can push a pace on him. And maybe he tires him out, but where's his path of victory? Because if he managed to take Rodriguez down, which is a task, I don't know that he's just going to style on him. I really don't. As far as this fight stays standing, like, he can stay in his face and be aggressive, but Rodriguez is going to counterpunch him, intercept him coming in, might hurt him the way Ronson did. The one thing on the price is 310 is like not a very good price tag, boy. I would bet the 9,100 on DraftKings because it's like it'll be a fun fight, and if Dalby chooses to take it to the ground, we've got ground transitions, and if he doesn't, and we got straight up a stand-up banger, then Rodriguez will either land 100 significant strikes or somewhere along the lines of 100 significant strikes until Dalby falls over. But the 310 on the price, it's like he's in a lot of these exciting fights. He's in a lot of these close fights. If you remember the Tim Means fight, Tim Means is putting it on him in that first round. If you remember the Gabe Green fight, who is Gabe Green? And it went the distance. And Gabe Green had him tired. And then Dwight Grant fight, he breezes through Dwight Grant. Don't let that recency bias make you hammer a minus 310 line. Fair. So as much as I do like Rodriguez, he's not like right at the top centerpiece parlay piece. I do see him getting the victory, but I don't have like the utmost faith at minus 310. We
got Alan Jouban taking on Jared Gooden. Jouban minus 150 favorite. Gooden plus 130. Jouban, 38 years old. He's got
shocking. I know.
He's doing broadcasting now for
not
the UFC.
Shocking.
Which, like, he's a very good looking man. Former model. Like, I'm sure he's still, if you reach out to him, I'm sure he can still do some of your modeling work as well.
Yeah, I think he still does the model work. Why he fights, I don't know, but he can fight. Watching
a little bit of tape on Gooden, I wasn't very familiar with him. The one thing I will say is he's fighting obviously a lower level of competition, and he looks like he's absolutely jacked.
Yeah, that
but
is
I
true.
don't really see necessarily. He seems more of like a volume puncher. I don't see like the one hitter quitter power against like in some of his more recent fights where he's fighting presumably slightly higher level of competition than earlier on in his career. I mean, I think it's perfect matchmaking for a guy like Jouban, who's probably trying to line up his way into the broadcast booth at this point in his career. His problem has always been the chin. He's a very, very technically sound fighter all the way around, but he's struggled to take damage in many of his fights, especially when you got to a higher echelon. I like Jouban here, but 38 years old, 1 foot already out the door. It's really tough to like lay the hammer on a play here. But I do think that he's the more technically sound. I'm not too concerned about Jared Gooden knocking out Jouban. But what's your take here?
Yeah, it's definitely the one problem with Jouban is that because you got to factor in that he is a kind of a part-time fighter, it's like what version of him are you going to get? Because if you get him with all of his skills, he's good, man. I mean, his striking is super fluid. He does have good striking defense, even though he does get caught a decent amount. His cardio, decent enough. Takedown defense, pretty good. Grappling, pretty good. Okay, he's a decent fighter, but it's because he's got this modeling on the side, and he's got this broadcasting on the side, and he's just got other interests, and he's 38 years old. Fighting is just like something that you can't pour all of your heart into. And as a result, some up-and-comer who this is their everything. And for Jared Gooden, this is his everything. This is his UFC debut. This is his spot. He didn't have to go through Contender Series to get here. He's 26 years old, and he's fought in like some decent guys on the regional scene. To be given this opportunity to come in here and fight a guy like Alan Jouban, it's huge. And originally, he actually got signed to fight Dwight Grant. So the promotion signs him, then he gets injured. But now knowing, I got a UFC debut coming up, he'll be in good shape. He's hungry. He's chomping at the bit. This is his opportunity to go and put himself on the map. And they're giving him a guy like Jouban, who's a name, right? He's relevant because he's on the broadcast. He's a good-looking guy. He's got a good reputation. He's had a lot of fights in the UFC. He provides a fun and exciting fight. It's like you got to go out there and pour it on him, but the price tag's just not good enough. Plus 130 on Jared Gooden. One thing that I've noticed from his tape is like as exciting as he is and as good of a finisher as he is, he's super hittable himself. And I don't think that bodes particularly well against Jouban, who packs a decent amount of power.
Yeah, he took on to this guy was like 9-4 in his last fight, and that round 1 was super
Trent
competitive.
McCann.
Round 2. That's when he gets the other guys back up against the cage and he starts landing. But yeah, I didn't see like murderous power punching, and that's what I need to see if I'm gonna fade Alan Jouban.
You would like to see the murderous power punching.
It was more like he got him up against the cage and he was picking away at him. Looks like the cardio checks out for him. Probably a fight we should really pay attention to live. I don't know if he's going to be able to knock out Jouban, and we'll be able to tell a lot of things
I think he could knock out Jouban. I think that it's going to be the type of fight that if it's a drag him out, tough, brawl, then yeah, could he land the shot on Jouban? Sure, but he's probably going to have to go use his offensive wrestling at some point. I don't think he gets Jouban to the ground. And if that's the case, then yeah, I think Jouban's just like ever so slightly the cleaner fighter. The last thing is that he's shown some good durability. Listen, this is not a guy that's just here. Oh, he didn't have to go through contenders. They needed a guy like, no. He's got a loss to David K, who's a fucking badass. He's got a win over Micah Miller, which is Cole Miller's brother. Also on his record, he's got a win over Cody Wilson, who's legit. Steve Newell, who was undefeated at the time. He fought Michael Graves, who is supposed to be really good, but is a booze bag and let that get in the way. And, sorry to Dalby. Will Santiago, another Contender Series guy, he's not very good, but he throws caution to the wind, and he's fought in some decent level guys. Like the Bruno Oliveira fight, that's his only loss where he's got knocked out. If you watch the fight, it is a bad-looking fight. Bruno Oliveira is also a bum. But Bruno Oliveira is like 6'4" and fights at 205. Mm-hmm. That fight was at 185. This fight at 170. This guy's big, man. Could he land the shot? Yeah, and if you gave me a 2-1 price tag, I'd actually be like, fuck it, dogger pass. But like, no, minus 150, Jouban, like, man, have you looked at his resume? Like, he's fought in the much better. He's not in a tough fight with Trent McGowan. He's not winning over 3-13 Jay Jackson.
The fight that I was thinking of, I think.
Jay Jackson prior to that is 3-13. The fight prior to that, Marcel Stamps, is a German prospect, but just not very good, Well, I think he lives in the UF now. But anyways, could Jared Gooden go put himself on the map in a big way? Absolutely. But I would have to get a little more incentive than plus 130. So for that reason, I'll take Jouban.
We got Kyle Daukaus taking on Dustin Stoltzfus. Daukaus minus 310 favorite. Dustin Stoltzfus plus 255. Daukaus a hell of a warrior going getting that fight to 3 rounds against Brandon Allen in his fight. Like, he got hurt early. He was cut early. That eye was a bit of a mess. And he starts fighting his way back into the fight, especially round 3. He spends most of round 3 on top. There was a 30-27 that was thrown out at the end. It's just like, I don't know.
What was up with that?
I don't know how you give anybody except Kyle Daukaus round 3. He spent most of the time on top. I know the last 15 seconds, Brandon Allen rolls up and then delivers some punishment. But it's like he was in body triangle for most of that round. That was absurd.
As a human being, you knew you had Allen up 2018 at this point. Mm-hmm. Why would you not just give the guy the round? That's by far his best round. Yeah, not even a pity round out of that.
Stoltzfus, on the other hand, was on the Contender Series. He took on Joseph Pfeiffer. He has some nice leg kicks from what I saw there, but once he got taken down to his back, I mean, he was more than happy to go down there. I know that he's like a submission wizard, but Daukaus has great grappling in his own right. Went to the decision against Brendan Allen, who we were just talking about.
Yeah, and his brother's on a roll. I think they're both
brothers
black
on a roll.
belts
These guys
BJJ.
seem to be rounding into form right now. That Philly gym right there, and
fact, they're on a roll.
And I feel like if Dustin Stoltzfus wants to roll to his back, I think Daukaus can, if we saw anything from him hanging with Brendan Allen, that Daukaus can hang and probably not get caught in anything too funky. I don't love the minus 310 price here, but what I did take from that, what I did glean from all of this is I feel like a prop bet, Matt, over 2.5 rounds in this fight. Because what I saw in Daukaus is this guy took a hellacious beating against a decent prospect in Brendan Allen.
Minus 125.
Minus 125. I think that this fight probably goes to decision. I just saw enough toughness in Kyle Daukaus in that last time out that I think that it's a greater probability than like a 50-50 shot here. I think it's, I don't know, 65-70% of the time these guys go to decision. I think most of the things that Daukaus does well, he can defend against what Stoltzfus does well. I don't see too much murderous power punching. The one thing that worries me about Daukaus is his ability to take leg kicks, because when they're on the feet, that seems to be what Stoltzfus is going straight for. Against Pfeiffer, what a weird finish, because Pfeiffer had top control on him. I think I had bet Pfeiffer live because I had bet him
before the fight.
I had bet him live because they were still hanging this long number, and I was just like, he's on top and he doesn't seem to be in any sort of danger right now. And then there was the scramble. He gets dropped on his arm, like Pfeiffer's arm gets out of socket, and that's all she wrote. That's the end of the fight. But I think this one goes to decision, to be perfectly honest. What's your take here?
I'm looking at the dog play on Dustin Stoltzfus at plus 255. It's just stared me in the eyes, man. I don't want Daukaus over absolutely anybody in the division at minus 310. And yeah, you're getting recency bias, right? Because this is what's happening to everybody who's been really active during this break. The Bobby Greens of the world or the Kevin Hollands of the world. Because they're fighting all the time, and you've probably bet them over this little win streak, and you're making money. You're happy. He didn't win. Get me wrong. He lost to Brendan Allen. But it was a good fight for him. His stock went up. And then his brothers tacked on a couple of really nice wins in the meantime. And now all of a sudden you're like, Martinez BJJ's on a roll. Now you're feeling it. Geez, you know what? These guys are good strikers. They're not even showing you the ground game. And yeah, he took down Brendan Allen 3 times and he put it on him. Brendan Allen fights for 1 round. That's what he's been doing in the UFC. In LFA, he was going 5 rounds. But he's got this thing now where he's just like all kill, go, and then tends to just kind of fatigue himself along the way. The Sean Strickland fights, like, surely he could have fought a better game plan than that, but he didn't. And then prior to that, same thing when he fought him, Kyle Daukaus. It's like, it's a really bad game plan.
Just throwing aggressive elbows from top.
And was looking really, really good for a round and a half. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, he's getting tired because he hasn't put Daukaus away. Durability, like you mentioned. And all of a sudden Daukaus has a really good third round. Not a really good third round, but a good third round. I thought he won it. But it was close. It's like, oh, okay, we're gonna grow from there. We're gonna build from there. You don't build minus 310. Like, no way. Now, mind you, I tried to fade this Dustin Stoltzfus, and it was for no other reason than he was lined up as a minus 275 favorite over Joseph Pfeiffer. Now, Joseph Pfeiffer's wrestled his entire life. Joseph Pfeiffer's done jiu-jitsu his entire life. Like, he's got a crazy story. Like, his dad was really rough on him, but I mean, he's like a career martial arts. Like, for the time he was 4 years old, that guy's pretty good. I thought he'd be able to give him a go, and he dislocates his arm. Did Pfeiffer look good up until that point? Yeah. Did this guy look bad? No, not really. Just the fight was kind of early in the early stages. But once he got taken down, he worked his way back up. He took him down. According to the guys in Germany, this guy's grappling is legit, right? You look at his record and he's got wins like twister, guillotine, rear naked choke, arm triangle, knee bar. It's like, oh, there's a variety of submissions. But they're just local German regional scene guys. Well, but his training partners are saying his grappling is really good. And similar to a Peter Sabata, a fellow Planet Eater guy, when your grappling gets real good, you just start spamming leg kicks. You just spam leg kicks.
Because you're fine. If somebody
Fuck
wants
you
to
gonna
take
do?
you down,
Right.
cool.
You're cool.
I'll
with
hang
that.
out back there because I've got a whole bunch of weapons from
Now
my
I
back.
don't necessarily want him just getting taken down by Daukaus because Daukaus is a big boy. Daukaus is 6'3". This guy's only Tapology has him 5'11". I think he's actually 6 feet. But regardless, he's giving up 3 inches in the height discrepancy. He's giving up a little bit of natural size, I would say. But I'm going to say that he's the better striker. And if you look at Daukaus, you got to look at the wins, too. He gets taken down in all of these fights, man. Even the Michael Lombardo fight. Actually, Allen didn't try to take him down. But like Michael Lombardo, Jonathan Webb, Nolan Norwood, Steven Regman, these guys are able to take him down. These guys are able to grapple with him. If my German fighter, Dustin Stoltzfus, goes out there, and same thing, like Pfeiffer took him down, he scrambles, he gets back up, and then he picks this big boy up and slams him to the ground, dislocates the arm. I'm not looking for a dislocated arm victory here. I'm looking for the takedown, though. Get this guy down. Get this guy down, grind this guy. When the fight gets back up, spam leg kicks. Cause him to now make a mistake by saying, you know what, I'm tired of getting kicked at range. Bulldoze forward, get this guy back down. Work him over. Can he win? I think he can win. If you told me this fight was even, I'd believe you. If you told me this fight was minus 150 Daukaus, I'd believe you. If you told me it was minus 310 Daukaus, I would not fucking believe you. And then sure enough, I'd be made a liar because he is. Like, I'm not feeling him. So flat out dog or pass for me.
What is Stoltzfus by decision?
Oh,
That's what's the YOLO?
Plus
Yeah.
515.
Yeah, I would
By
just
submission, plus 950.
I don't even want to bet the submission. I know Stoltzfus is good on the ground, but I think Daukaus can
I think
at
Daukaus
least stay
can
out of
hang
trouble.
because
I would
he's got a
rather,
heavyweight
if I was going to
brother
bet
that
this, I
grapples
would
with
just
the
take
opponent.
plus 255.
Yeah, but now you got me thinking.
That decision
but
prop,
now
or
you
do you like
got
the
me
submission
thinking
prop?
No, the decision prop. Because
Yeah.
Daukaus is bigger, and not only is he the bigger man, he's a good grappler, but yeah, he's used to having.
My concern is the leg kicks, though.
Big old
Because
Chris
Stoltzfus
Daukaus
throws
on top
some
of him.
heater leg kicks. We saw that against Pfeiffer there.
Yeah, and what I noticed is that his fight with Jonas Billenstein, and so like Billenstein's actually a decent prospect. Well, he's not a prospect anymore, but a former Bellator guy and was supposed to be a good German prospect. And it's just like after the first round, he starts to touch this guy up, and like he's got some power in his hands. He's got some good cardio. He's got the leg kick game. His grappling seems to be really good. And he's just like, I hate to say this because
Stoltzfus
there's
dropped
always
7,400 DraftKings.
There's always
play.
somebody that takes this comment the wrong way, and I don't mean to say it in the wrong way, but Dustin Stoltzfus is very efficient. He's a German, but he's very efficient. And it's that efficiency that carries him to victory in a lot
He's
of
got
these
an
spots.
American flag next to his name on.
Okay,
I
well,
know
we
he
can
spends
talk
time
about
in
that
Germany.
in the next fight when we talk about Sasha Palatnikov.
Well, why don't we just tee it up right now? Sasha Palatnikov plus 330 against Luis Cosce, who can be had for a minus 410. Take it away.
Yeah, so Sasha Palatnikov is like a total anomaly, man. Like I don't know.
5-2.
Yeah, I can't
How
believe
did
the
he end up
UFC's
here? Guy looks
feeding
jacked
this.
from the pictures I've seen.
Yeah, no doubt he's jacked. So this is like his little story, I guess, is that he's from Hong Kong, right? Technically speaking, he's a citizen of Hong Kong. That he's repping the flag, and this would make him the first fighter from Hong Kong to be fighting in the UFC. Cool. But I mean, I think he's born in this. He could be born in Hong Kong, but he spent a lot of time in the United States, and in fact, he attended the University of Buffalo, where he did not wrestle, do anything sports related, but just studied academically. At least Des Green and Mark Stevens were on the wrestling team. But I digress.
Yeah, it's not an exam. University of Buffalo isn't exactly like a school, I would imagine, that like people all over the
It's
globe
from Hong Kong. It's
are
just
clamoring to get part of the Maction. You
right.
know?
It's a D1 program again, but he didn't wrestle on the team. But then, according to him, he played rugby and he played basketball in Hong Kong and represented Hong Kong in both those sports as a junior athlete. hangs down there. He's fought in really, I would say, lower level guys. He goes to Korea.
I wasn't impressed from like the quick amount of tape that I watched on him.
His cardio looks lackluster. His wrestling, he's not even trying to wrestle, but he doesn't look like he's physically all that strong. He looks like he's a tall, rangy guy, but he doesn't use his distance. Doesn't really have much of a jab. Didn't look like he threw a ton of power. Both his fights in Korea went the distance, and he wins this AFC title and hangs it up. Now he gets a legit fight, Munir Laziz. This is a guy who we wouldn't have known at the time, but we certainly know now is pretty good. And by the way, he went the distance with Razak Al-Hassan. How good is he? Book might still be out on him. But it's like, that's non-competitive, man. He gets absolutely smoked. So he blows his knee out, right? He injures his knee. He got a fight over Paulo Henriquez 3-4. He won that. That was like his comeback to kind of get his feet wet. But he blew out his knee and then for whatever reason decides, I need to move to Las Vegas. And just moves to Las Vegas, links up with Extreme Couture and John Wood, and they need guys. He's in Vegas. They have UFC cards running every single weekend. They're in Las Vegas. They'll take anybody. This guy's on standby. He got the one win over Paulo Henrique, a 3-4 fighter. That's his one fight since coming back from the knee injury, and it's a quick win, minute and 23 seconds. What do you take away from that? I don't know that those improvements are there. Yeah, being at Extreme Couture for a year, great, but rehabbing a knee injury, not great. And I don't know, I just don't really see the skills there. Now, this Louis Cosce, here's the one thing about him is that he fought a whole lot of cans as well. So he smashed so many cans that when he came to the Contender Series, it's like, okay, now for the first time in your life, you're fighting
Victor Reina.
A can. Now, if you're going to be decent, you got to go out there and take Victor Reina out quick. And that's exactly what he does. He goes out there, he does exactly to Victor Reina what he should.
He's just kind of barging forward, throwing shots.
He just barges forward.
Yeah.
He's got a wrestling advantage, but again, because all of his fights are minute 19, 18 seconds, 18 seconds, minute 12. Oh, look at that, 4:34. That's the longest he's ever been because the other one's 32 seconds. If it gets extended beyond the first round, how good's his cardio, Paul?
We don't know.
I don't know. But they want to tell you for minus 410 that you should find out. It's just like, I think he's the better fighter. And I'm telling you that based on what? The quick, just what you see in that limited minute. Now he's got power. He's got the wrestling edge. He looks like he's a lot stronger. He's a lot physically stronger. If he wants to take down Sasha Palatnikov, he will. He'll take him down. He can just lie on his guard, and he'll win the fight that way. If he chooses to bum rush him and throw some hot heat and doesn't get the first round knockout on gases, that's how he'll blow it for himself. And minus 410, I just don't have the utmost faith that he's not going to just go with the former instead of the latter. Because when you win all of your fights like that, it ain't broke. Why fix it?
What does that have to do with Dustin Stoltzfus being from Germany or the United States, though?
Dustin Stoltzfus. Oh, yeah. Well,
remember, you were just I'll tell you about that in the next fight.
Because Dustin...
Were you just trying to move us on to the next fight? Because that's cool, too.
No, Dustin Stoltzfus is German, but he spent a lot of time in Pennsylvania, right? So his thing is that, like, he's an American out of Pennsylvania, but he has German citizenship, and he, lives in Germany and whatever, right? Well, it's the same thing with Sasha Palatnikov. Like, he's the first fighter in UFC history from Hong Kong. Like, they're making it this cool little narrative, but it's like... He went to the University of Buffalo. Like, what? No, he's more American than anybody on the card, really. So anyways, that's my takeaway on that. I wasn't overly impressed with what I saw out of him. And if you want me to throw... I guess this fight's at welterweight. But this Sasha Palatnikov had previously fought at like 182 pounds, like catchweights of 185. But because he's at Extreme Couture, I seen some stuff of him and Sean Strickland. Sean Strickland's a former welterweight who now campaigns at 185. And Strickland's twice his size. So, yeah, no doubt he's got to go down to 170 to be effective. It seems like he could make 55, but he's a little tall, I guess. Yeah, that's the bookie trying to get one over on you, potentially. I'd probably hit a pass.
All right, I'm just kind of... let's go quickly through the DraftKings breakdown here for UFC 255. I mean, Figueiredo is a murderous power puncher. He could get it done for sure. It's a 5-round fight. But... And yeah, 9,000 isn't even all that much. I think that he's probably a pretty solid play up top there. I mean, on the other hand, Valentina Shevchenko, 96. Like, it's really hard to pay off or make a lineup with her involved in it.
Yeah, the difference is she's going to win. Whereas Deiveson Figueiredo, it's a much tougher fight than the one she's presented
That's
with. But the
fair.
600 points is everything in DraftKings, and so you're gonna probably have to chase that. Honestly, if you just want to rifle it through it quickly, though, Davidson Figueiredo, 9,000. He's got some merit. He's got that knockout power. He's got 5 rounds to work with. He's a 3-1 favorite. Perfect. We like it. Alex Perez, though, 7,200. You're looking to get greasy with it. He's got a lot of volume. He's got a lot of output.
GPP.
Yeah, and he's going to pursue the takedowns, right? You're going to get points off takedowns. You're going to get
He's going
points
to
off
throw
scrambles.
leg kicks, and those leg kicks did seem to affect Figueiredo a little bit against Benavidez in their second
He
fight.
theoretically could have a cardio advantage, and then if that's going to play out down the stretch over 5 rounds, then like why not? People love just painting Figueiredo as just like he can't be taken down. But it's like no, he's been taken down quite a few times. He usually gets back up, but if you can keep that pace going and don't be the chinny guy. 7,200 on Perez, you could do a lot worse. Shevchenko, listen, 9,600. You're never going to see anybody priced higher than 9,600. It is what it is. We think it's going to be inside the distance, and for that regard, she probably does score you 100 points, but you can probably save the money elsewhere.
And
Jennifer Maia, no, I wouldn't even touch that 66. Mike Perry versus Tim Means, you would want one side of this for sure because it's going to be a dogfight. I just don't know that Tim Means has got those dogfights left in him, whereas Mike Perry makes
Very
fights that
durable.
he has massive advantages, dogfights. Fights that he has... he's giving up.
From what you
every
said
skill,
earlier,
he
it
makes
sounds
dogfight.
like 8,200 Mike
Yeah,
Perry
no
is hide
doubt.
your kids,
No
hide your
doubt.
wife, and add him to every single lineup.
No doubt. If Mike Perry loses, I will fight somebody at Arby's, which is essentially the path Mike Perry's going down. So you have Calvillo versus Caitlin Chookagian. Okay, I get Caitlin Chookagian just got knocked out, and then Draj got a good amount of points out of that. But like, don't be fooled, man. If she's trying to pursue takedowns, if she's trying to pursue I don't know. I would pass hard on the 8,700. The 7,500 on Caitlin Chookagian, if you thought she was going to win and be a cash game play at absolute best, but she hasn't proven to be a DraftKings player. Outside of her win over Antonina Shevchenko, that's not going to happen here. There's no wrestling advantage in the spot. Paul Craig versus Mauricio Hua. Yeah, you're going to want one side of this because Paul Craig at 8,500, if he's going to win this, he could knock out Mauricio Hua in the first round. He could slap on a submission, theoretically. I don't see it happening, but again, he could finish the fight in under 1.5, just putting it on the old legend Hua. If Hua, stands the test of time and tires Paul Craig out and puts it on, I'm like, maybe he could finish this. Well, he's only 7,700. I got Paul Craig.
I don't know if he's going to finish anything, and his volume isn't great. He's probably not going to land too many takedowns. If he does get takedowns, he's not going to get transitions.
And he's still 7,700.
And then if he does
It's not
take him
exactly
down,
he's
who knows if
totally cheap.
if Fight Metric even scores any of the strikes.
They
while he's
don't.
down
They
there.
might for an old legend, but nobody else. Moreno versus Royval, you are going to need one side of this, even though it probably
it's gonna
does
be such
go
a
the distance.
high value. Man,
gonna be a lot of
some
scrambles, man.
books have those weird props with like fight of the night. I think that's like the sneaky fight of the night potential with Moreno and Royval. We both you mentioned Royval by decision was a play that you like there plus 140. I like just the over in general plus 2 or over 2.5 rounds.
I'll tell you why I wouldn't bet that fight, because that would be the chalk runaway, I think, for fight of the night. And it is going to be fight of the night, and it's going to be the best fight on the card. And then Mike Perry's going to go out and just fucking have his chin up in the air and sock him, bop him. And the fans are like, man, fuck the flyweights, dude. Perry's so tough. It's just like, what? Fuck the flyweights. They're the best.
Yeah.
This fight's going to be absolutely high paced. It's going to have striking. It's going to have grappling. It's going to have good cardio. It's going to have test of wills. It's going to have young prospects, sub 30-year-olds that really want it, want to establish themselves. They want the money. And you got Mike Perry, who fought a guy in the Arby's.
That's why I think it could be
Finally.
undervalued in those types of weirdo markets.
I would bet
like
Perry
not many
Tim
books offer
Means
them,
is-
but if you can get over 10-1 on that, and I don't know, sometimes mathematically they're kind of screwing you on a lot of those ones. But there's 12 fights on this card. That's an 8% metric, so you need like plus 1,100. If every single fight was equal in terms of that type of market, you would need 1,100. But like, there's certain fights I was like, I would be pretty surprised if Calvillo versus Chookagian. Like, you can probably scratch off 3 or 4 of the fights on the card. They're not really in play. I don't know. Something to keep an eye out for if those types of props get dropped.
If those types of props get dropped, yeah. No, I hear you. If you got to always monitor those props and see what they get dropped at and see what the prices come on. But regardless, as far as DraftKings goes, yeah, Brandon Moreno, A600, he's going to have a lot of opportunity to score that. Flip side of that, if you are on team Brandon Royval, he's going to have a lot of... one of the Brandons is going to win. You just got to figure out what side it is. Joaquin Buckley should be able to put up a big amount. Not only should he be able to just get the knockout over Jordan Wright in the first round, if he doesn't get the knockout over Jordan Wright in the first round, what he had to get it in the second round, and he'll have getting all those strikes in the meantime.
What if he took a spinning back kick or something? Like, that's what Jordan Wright That's about all he seems to be good for. Or grabbing the clinch and kneeing like Villanueva.
Yeah, see.
I'm not going there myself. But
This is the best, right? One of the ways to get out of a tie clinch, and most guys cannot do that. So when they get you in that tie plum and you are in deep, you just got to rip the body. Now it's
that's
like,
what Buckley will do.
yeah, I mean, Kevin Holland tried to tie clinch him as well. And it's just like, ooh, see, in order to clinch him, you got to get close to him. And if you get close to him, he's going to unload on you. And my God, Fluffy Hernandez does not hit like this guy. This guy's rolling high right now. The UFC's like, oh, maybe we can market him. He just did something way cooler than Anthony Pettis' run off the cage, which didn't knock out Dempsey Henderson. I'd have to say Joaquin Buckley at 8,900 looks way better than Davidson Figueiredo at 9,000, just saying. Antonina Shevchenko, you want no part of that. She's going to punching power. The volume should be low. Lipski's in the same boat. Daniel Rodriguez at 9,100, you're really relying on that faded chin of Dalby. And I can't guarantee you that Dalby does have a faded chin. Got knocked out by Ronson. Maybe it's just a fluke. Daniel Rodriguez is going to score a good amount of points. 9,100, kind of a little out of that price range. Jouban feels like a have-to-have. And that feels like the guy that shits in your pie on your DK lineup, because I could see Jared Gooden at $7,900 coming in and ruining the day. And if that's the case, he's going to be on an optimal. If he goes out there and knocks out Jouban in the first, huge. Jouban's been wobbled. Jouban's been knocked out. Jouban's 38. Jouban's got a second career. He's got a third career. Maybe this is not everything to him. Jared Gooden could catch him off guard. So part of me wants one side of this, but you'd have to play multiple lineups. And because we're here giving you a lineup,
We're not giving you a lineup. We're just giving you ideas of where to go.
You got ideas. You can do what you want with that fight. Someone's going to score good in it, but it could be good in. See what I did there? Daukaus versus Dustin Stoltzfus.
Sounds like you want Stoltzfus. 7,400. There's your salary saver.
Yeah, and you and I were talking about the fact that, well, maybe it goes to decision. If he gets takedowns and he gets those leg kicks, I don't give a shit if it goes to decision. I really don't give a shit. He's 7,400. That's fine by me. He'll get 70 points at that rate.
Those leg kicks, every single one of those will be counted. They count
and
leg
that's gonna
kicks
allow
as significant strikes as well. So.
And then Sasha Palatnikov would be the best punt on the card, because he's the biggest dog on the card, right? He's $6,900 on DraftKings. And it's like, could he just get out of the first round against Yeah, he could get out of the first round.
That's a MME kind of play for sure.
Yeah, but again, if you're playing a single bullet, you don't fuck with those kind of fights. Probably. If you're playing multiple lineups, you're going to have Lewis on a lot of them because he's such a potent first-round finisher. You want this guy. But at 9,300, you put that price point on you know what? He's only $300 less than Shevchenko. He's $300 more than Figueiredo. He's $400 more than Joaquin Buckley. He's... You know what the worst thing that could happen to you is that Lewis goes out there and knocks out Palatnikov in the first round and then scores significantly less than Brandon Moreno, who went 3 rounds in just an absolute ludicrous of a fight and maybe got a late finish for $8,600, right? The first round knockout's not everything. You want like prolonged activity sometimes. Lewis is just really high priced. When you look at his record and you think, geez, he's finished every single fight early in the first round, then you just assume the trend's going to continue. This is UFC debut. The guy he's fighting's got this unknown about him. We don't know how good his cardio is. He probably rolls. It's just not a great price tag, both money line side and DraftKings side. Hit you with the PRP. We're going to go with Davidson Figueiredo, Valentina Shevchenko inside the distance. But again, just for straight up. Mike Perry, Cynthia Calvillo, Paul Craig, Brandon Moreno, Joaquin Buckley, Antonina Shevchenko by decision. Fight goes the distance. Probably your best move on that. Daniel Rodriguez. I'm going to take Jouban. I'm going to take Dustin Stoltzfus. And I'm going to take Lewis. The Lewis one's a really big pass for me. And Dustin's shockingly my only underdog. But he's a plus 255. So that more than makes it up with it. Get through. Get the victory. And again, if it's a really close fight and my good size underdog hits, fuck off with the robbery stuff, man. Come on. It's a close fight. You got to know sometimes where McKenna versus Hansen is a close fight. They're both 21. It's going to be a close fight. We're assuming it's a close fight. All 3 rounds were close rounds. You have people scoring the first round for either side. You have people scoring the second round for either side. You have people scoring the third round for either side. And Corey McKenna greases out a close decision. That's not a robbery. That's not the definition of a robbery. That's the definition of you were just on the wrong side of a close decision. But it was a 50-50 fight. Only you feel really bad about it because you bet it at minus 220. So you probably parlayed it as well because you're chasing the
I
dragon.
don't understand when people get
It's a close fight.
all up in arms.
So again,
Like,
he's 255. If he's in a close fight and he greases out a decision, don't come at me.
I've
with
been on the
Robbie
good
shit.
side and the bad side of many good and bad decisions over the years. It all works out in the wash. Sometimes you lose. Yeah, that's what's going to happen in this game over time. We're not always going to all agree on every single round. I thought it was razor close. If Kay Hansen had won, I would not have been upset. But the outrage for Kay Hansen.
That was the
getting
thing.
That
Is
decision
if
was kinda
Kay
crazy.
Hansen would have won, people wouldn't have gone out and been like, "Oh man, robbery." Corey McKenna wins. Oh, it's a robbery. Like they're close fights. That's what I'm saying. Is that you can't definitively be like, "Man, this person got outright screwed." And we've seen bad decisions. Boy, oh boy, we've seen a lot of bad decisions. Come on, man. In what world is a takedown with absolute nothing done with the takedown? Just getting elbowed in the face.
That was no Sanchez
Casually,
Pearson.
oh, yeah, that's one of the worst decisions. Boss Rude and Kevin Randleman once upon a time. Fucking boss. Yeah, you're going to get bounces. You're going to get good bounces. You're going to get bad bounces. You go and you play the roulette table, right? What are you taking? You taking black? You taking red? But it might just hit neutral. If it hits neutral, it screws you. Does it hit neutral often? No, not very often. But it can happen. You can get screwed. You can get banana peel pricing. Your fighter could break their leg. Your fighter could come in there and get disqualified for a move. Things that you don't see coming. But when a fight is close, and you assume it's going to be close, and I'm guilty of this, the Bobby Green fight, every Bobby Green fight he's ever had, is close. So when they offer you 3-1 on him, you don't take it because it's going to be close.
Yeah, I wish I could have not taken that.
Yeah. It's nothing against Kay Hansen.
That one stung.
They're both 21 years old. They're both young. They're both in the infancy of their career. And to have one of them lined up as a 220 favorite, like I didn't see it. And if they fought,
both of them, I think
fought 10 times
onwards and upwards. They both showed in that fight
Yeah.
that they're gonna have some great fights in the years to come for sure. Last thing, I didn't even say it off the top, but help us out by sharing these shows around. I don't know anything about the Reddit boards or anything like that, but
the what?
What the Reddit boards? I don't know. Just if you're on Twitter, please share it. If you're on Facebook, please share it.
Wow, Paul asking for shares.
I mean, we come in here, we do the service for the people. All we ask for is that you kind of get the word out here for us. We don't ask for anything else from anybody at any time. If you could share the show, it would help out all parties here.
Pat Mayo put you up to that, didn't he?
No, he didn't. I just never asked for people to share the show. I figured, hey, don't ask, don't ASK, don't GET.
Trying something different.
Why, you don't want people to share the show?
No, as like you said, we never ask them for nothing other than share the show. I was like, no,
share the show.
we never asked them for anything.
Is that
at all.
offensive?
No, I don't.
Am I not allowed to ask
No,
for people to share the show?
If you enjoy the show, then
share the show.
Sure, absolutely.
Give
Sounds
the
good.
episode a like and all of that stuff too. I'm not a natural host by any stretch of the imagination, but
If this
share the
card
show.
bombs, don't share the show.
Delete all of the posts on Reddit
You know what, though?
if our card bombs here.
We were riding favorite card, last card. You just knew it was going to be some dogs. You knew there was going to be some juicy spots. It was lined up that way. This card
A
again,
lot of
like
favorites
you're
that
right.
we're,
It's right. It's
we're
right back to
targeting.
the favorites.
I mean, the people that I think we kind of isolated here was Mike Perry minus 150, Buckley, nice parlay piece there. You liked Moreno by decision plus 140, Royval and Moreno over 2.5 rounds. I like that.
Shevchenko,
and Shev and
Lipski, the
Lipski
distance.
goes to decision. And then I guess Stoltzfus for the YOLO play of the week.
Yeah, and then if you're trying to like get on something to like, I would say like it's hard to say that Mike Perry's your lock of the week, but like Mike Perry, that minus 150.
That is greasy.
You know what? Would you expect anything more from a matchup of Mike Perry versus the Dirty Bird Tim Means? Like, yeah, dude, it's gonna get greasy, and you would really better take out Perry quick because outside of Jeff Neal just bombing on him, he tends to take a good punch, and that's going to be a problem. But yeah, I would say Perry's going to be one of my big pieces. Buckley's one of my big pieces. Daniel Rodriguez, but I'm going to drop him down a level just because I don't want him ruining the key parlay. And then, outside of that, there's going to be a couple like weary spots, but we're going to pull it together. Probably chase a couple props this week. And there's a Bellator card on Thursday, so I'll get off my lazy ass and tweet out some plays.
Yeah, what was, just before we go, Benson Henderson is like plus 155 in that spot. What are you thinking?
Yeah, okay, so I was looking at some of the lines earlier.
That was the one line that really jumped out as being maybe a bit out of range. It seemed a little bit off. Benson looked pretty good at the weigh-ins. I skimmed through those today actually.
Yeah, it's kind of. Well, I think it's just like
I know it's at 170. He's obviously a career 155er.
Well, is he? I mean,
Well,
he's
no,
had some
like
good fights
earlier
at
on in his
170.
career, he was at 155.
Yeah, it's just hard to tell like
McKee
where.
versus Caldwell. McKee's a big time fave too.
Yeah, that one I don't necessarily agree with, but it's Caldwell coming up the weight class, right? Like he's a natural 35er, and though he did look good at that last fight at 45, like he's gonna have a couple issues at least with the size discrepancy. But I don't know, man. Honestly, AJ McKee can't wrestle with Darren Caldwell at all. But it's a 5-round fight because it's a tournament fight. And Caldwell just doesn't have the gas tank to go a prolonged period. So McKee probably catches him at some point. Joey Davis versus Bobby Lee. Like Joey Davis, check out his wrestling pedigree. Fucking unreal. He's also one of the chief training partners and sparring partners of AJ McKee. He's gonna roll there, even though he's 475. Keith Lee versus Rafion Stotts. Keith Lee's been looking better in Bellator. He's the younger brother of Kevin Lee, who obviously you guys are familiar with. He has fought at 125, fought at 135. Not exactly the biggest guy, not exactly the strongest guy. Rafion Stotts, he's at a Rufus Sport. He's, again, a good collegiate wrestler. He's known for that spinning back fist with Merab Dvalishvili once upon a time. The guy's been around. The guy's got the wrestling advantage. He's got the cardio advantage. I think he should be able to ground Keith Lee and beat him. Keith Lee just not overly impressive, but it's 280. It's a big price tag. Ben Tennyson, Jason Jackson. Jason Jackson, big. He's been a money bank for me. He wins when I need him to. He loses when I need him to. Outside of like that freak injury,
Minus
ankle.
170 plus 150 though seems a little weird to me.
I agree. Is that again? He's another one of these guys that's in a lot of close fights. Now he's good dealing against wrestlers. You know, he's a former Black Zillion member. He was on the Ultimate Fighter. You'll remember that.
I remember him from.
He fought Michael Graves and just like man, they cried like little bitches when remember Graves. The ref didn't stop it. Graves comes back and chokes him out. And they're like, "You should have stopped it, man." Watch that episode, hilarious. But Jason Jackson, since then, like the UFC never picked him up. He fought for Titan, he fought for LFA. He's not signed to Bellator now. He's not exactly young. He likes to strike from the outside, but he doesn't have exactly like a ton of finishing power. That's kind of my problem with him here. Is that if he goes out there, he doesn't have that power. Knocking out Benson Henderson is difficult. I mean, yeah, guys have done it. Yeah, some of the best power punchers in Bellator's division have been able to put him away. Yeah, he got knocked down in his last fight, but Jason Jackson shouldn't knock him out. If he's able to just like stick to his hips, try to take him down, try to maneuver this guy around, he could squeak by in a close decision. So I would say he's definitely live dog at plus 155. Jeremy Kennedy versus Matt Bissett. Jeremy Kennedy should absolutely just run right through him. Matt Bissett could catch him in a guillotine. That's pretty much his only saving grace here. We have seen Kennedy caught in PFL ranks. You know, he got caught really quick.
Yeah.
Outside of that, he's going to roll right through.
You don't
Matt
have to
Bissett.
give away everything here. We
Jaleel Willis
Saftic,
was supposed to
he'll
fight
drop
Patricky.
the juicy
Yeah.
parlays
Well,
out
okay,
there.
Willis is going to win. Kimbo Slice Jr. should win, but you don't ever bet on Kimbo Slice Jr.
No, that's
take it from
greasy.
here. JJ Wilson.
Early prelims in Bellator is just risky business.
Yeah, a lot of the time it's free money, man. Because it's like, yeah, they're 4-1, 5-1 favorites, but it's like,
But there's one guy they're trying to push, and the other guy they brought in off the street.
well, yeah, you're like, well, who's? You're like, oh shit, it's a guy that's 0-0 versus a guy that's 0-1. What's the story on the guy that's 0-1? It's like Taekwondo guy. He made his Bellator debut, 2 months ago. Got choked out. Rear naked choke first round. It's like, okay. Well, who's the guy that's 0-0? Wrestled at University of Pittsburgh, 3-time All-American. Was a 3-time state champion. He's actually in the Virginia State, like high school Hall of Fame.
Wonder
It's
what
like,
Scott Coker's trying to do here.
and what's the odds? Like minus 465 for the wrestling. Like, give me Cody Law. What the fuck are you guys talking about? That's Bellator in a nutshell.
Yeah.
And I always say it like if Bellator, you can just look at the contract. If one guy has a contract with Bellator and one guy just signed a deal for this one fight, you know who they're trying to move along. So yeah, anyways, we got some good spots here. Bellator, I think LFA, whether they drop lines or not, who knows? And then you got a UFC offering. So good luck to everybody. Thanks for tuning in. As Paul would say, share the show. And let's hopefully put another banger in the books, make some money for everybody.
That is it for us this week. Thank you to Cody J. Saftic, CJ Saftic on Twitter for blessing us with his knowledge as per usual. Thanks to Matt at Best of Matt on Twitter for all the sweet cuts behind the scenes. For Cody and Matt, I'm Paul saying goodbye and good luck.
Mayo experience! Experience!